are we, ladies? We are the Tigers. When your feet hit the ground, you should be running. You're in the hunt for your next great championship. Who are we?
We are Tigers!
Who are we?
We are Tigers!
Inside LSU Gymnastics with Coach Dee Bro. Brought to you by New Orleans Roast Coffee.
Welcome to another edition of Inside LSU Gymnastics. I'm Mike Smith, and tonight we come to you from Lexington, Kentucky, where the Fighting Tigers of LSU win another Southeastern Conference road meet with a 195-875 victory over Kentucky here in Memorial Coliseum. Joining me now is Associate Head Coach Jay Clark, and tonight, Jay, you went with a slightly different lineup than what we've seen in the past.
Well, it was similar to what we went with in Metroplex, but we did try to get Brittany Ramsey out there. She did do an exhibition for us at the end, and we really believe she needs to get in the lineup because I think she's going to give us a completely different look and really upgrade that event for us. Getting off to a slow start tonight was a little bit disappointing, but the good side was we did fight through it, we did get the win, and we didn't count a fall.
Well, and the second performer up, Lomencia Hall, with a bit of an uncharacteristic 9.55 score, and I thought from there, Jay, it really looked like that the Tigers needed to put the pieces together, but as you say, they fought and slowly did and got 48-875 on the event.
They were fighting. They were fighting mostly with the equipment. I mean, it just seemed to be off on their timing on virtually everything, and as you mentioned, Lomencia Hall did a pretty solid routine up until the dismount, and then really it did a dismount that looked like it had been shot out of a cannon, and it probably took a 2 to 3/10 deduction right there on the dismount, and so and then followed that up with Randy Wyrick, who I thought did probably the best routine she's done to date. Now It didn't score what it scored at Metroplex, but it was, in my opinion, the best routine that she's done today.
9.80 is the score for the freshman from Las Vegas, and then you really start to round into sort of the heart of your lineup.
Yeah, well, and Reagan's been a little bit up and down in practice, and really needs to tighten the screws a little bit from a preparation standpoint. She's a little bit off tonight. Got in on the uphill from the low bar to the high bar. And that's a big deduction. She landed well. The Jaeger was beautiful. There were lots of components of the routine that were really nice, but she's got to be there for us. And if we're gonna go as Reagan goes in a lot of cases, and so Reagan's got to kind of get things going a little bit and be more consistent.
Your fourth-year junior is next. Kaylee Dixon had a superb meet tonight in Lexington.
Yeah, I'm really proud of what Kaylee's doing, and Kaylee really responded. In my mind, even though the score again was less than what it was at Metroplex, I thought it was in some ways a better routine than what she did at Metroplex. And Kaylee's showing a lot of maturity here lately. She's training the same way we're seeing her compete, and that's always a super important component to have, because you don't want to train here, compete here, or train here and compete here. And she's at a level place where we're seeing that same consistency week in and week out, day in and day out in training. Very pleased with what Kaylee Dixon is doing.
Well, Sari Morrison has been your rock on uneven bars. 9.85 is her score tonight, and really has had no score on bars this season lower than 9.825, and she just has the whole package.
Yeah, she does, and I think she really tried to control that dismount a little bit. She did not stick the dismount, which is, I don't remember the last time she didn't stick a dismount in practice. So
48-875, the bars scored tonight for the LSU Tigers, and then we move into rotation 2. To the vault, and frankly, Jay, we felt like that was our opportunity to really seize the moment in the meet, and I think that's what happened.
Yeah, it was. I mean, vault is a strong event for us. Bob does an amazing job on vault, and really the leg events for us are sort of the backbone of our team, and we've got some flexibility. We can take people out of that event and put people in and really not miss a beat, and that was the case here tonight. And I thought we got off to a super solid start.
Well, you did indeed, with Kaylee Dixon starting off with a career high 9.875 on the event. Again, it's worth saying, even though she finishes third in the all-around, she has one of the higher all-around scores that she personally has ever had. She was super good, as was Randy Wyrick, your freshman. Again, 9.8 in the number 2 spot.
Yeah, both of them got us off to a great spot. First time for Randy Wyrick competing this year, but I want to go back to Kaylee for just a second, because Kaylee is just progressing on every event the same way. What you're seeing in competition is what we're getting in practice. She's landing better, she's executing better, she's fit, she looks like she's getting better and better each week. And so I'm just really pleased with her mindset. She's one of those kids, and I really see her emerging as a leader as this team gets down the line in the season. And then, of course, to get Randy Wyrick out there for the first time on vault in a competitive environment as a freshman, and for her to get started the way she did, it was nice to see, and it's nice to know it's a good place to be as a team to say that we can have that flexibility and rest Sari Morrison and be able to put other people in.
Well, and then Brittany Taylor in her first vault as well goes 9.825 for the Tigers tonight, and then tying her career high and winning the vault tonight between the two teams, the Tigers and the Wildcats, is Randy Lau, the sophomore from Hawaii.
You know, Brittany Taylor and Randy Lau don't get a lot of pub. You know, they don't get a whole lot of, they're not showing up in the box score as much, but day in and day out, they're in the gym and they're pushing people. And Randy Lau wedged her way into the lineup last week, got a 9.9 at Metroplex, and we put Brittany Taylor in an exhibition at Metroplex. She did a great job, and we felt like based on warm-ups tonight that maybe Savona was a little bit off, and so we were able to pull Savona out and get a great vault out of Brittany Taylor. So again, the theme on this event is that we've got the flexibility, and that's going to be the mark of a great team down the stretch, is that it's competitive now. It's competitive in the gym for these events.
Well, and then the Tigers round out in a bit uncharacteristic to end on vault tonight. Usually, you know, Malia Mathis, Reagan Corville, of course, Sari Morrison was out of the lineup tonight, but you usually count on some big scores.
Yeah, you do, and Malia was a little off tonight. She was a little flat coming off the table. Not her best vault by any stretch of the imagination. And same with Reagan. Reagan got on the table, legs were bent. It just didn't look like the normal Reagan Corville vault that we've all come accustomed to seeing. But nonetheless, when you've got the depth that we had early on, it ended up being a good score for us.
49-175 is the Tigers team score on the vault tonight, and it takes them just a smidge over 98 at the halfway point of tonight's meet. When we come back after this timeout, we'll take a look at the second half of tonight's meet in Memorial Coliseum in Lexington, Kentucky on Inside LSU Gymnastics. Inside LSU Gymnastics with Dee Dee Bro has been brought to you by New Orleans Roast Coffee, the LSU Tiger Spotters, Wow Cafe American Grill and Wingery, Flying Tigers Gymnastics Camp, PJ's Coffee, and Glenn Armentor Pay It Forward Scholarship Program of Excellence.
Tiger fans, join LSU Gymnastics coach Dee Dee Bro and former LSU football All-American Brady James for two special events. Catch Tailgate for the Fight March 7th, 6 to 9 p.m. inside the LSU Tiger Stadium Club. A night of food, fun, and spirited auction bidding. Admission is $56. Also join us March 8th at 7 p.m. as we host the 6th annual Etta James Memorial Meet as LSU will take on rival Alabama. Tickets just $1. And don't forget, wear pink. For info, email promotions@lsu.edu.
Taste that brew, pillow and apple pie. Walk on in, see a few friends. Where you at, what now?
Yeah, got to get up early in the morning, man. You know, I gotta have my coffee. So I'm gonna run on down to PJ's. You gotta have it. It's early in the morning.
Who are we?
We are Tigers!
Who are we?
We are Tigers!
Inside LSU Gymnastics with Coach Dee Dee Bro.
I believe we are going to be able to win a national championship. I'm proud of my team. I'm glad of how far we've come. I think there's still a lot of progress to be made, but we're going to be ready.
Just to really unify and just, come together as one and have that one common goal, and which is, to be a team and respect.
Dee Dee, Jessica Savona has been a great addition to this Tiger club this season. What did you most like about Jessica during the recruiting process?
You know, Mike, I gravitate to those kids that have strong legs, real powerful jumpers, good vaulter, good tumbler. She's a work in progress on beam and bars, but by the end of the season, she's going to be good.
Let's take a look at this great piece to get to know Jessica a little bit better. Jessica Savona, freshman from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada.
A superstar gymnast who could always bring the crowd to their feet. Freshman Jessica Savona came to LSU in search of something more.
Coaches who I would have a relationship with, like family, a gym team that was like family.
A native of Mississauga, Canada, Savona was the first alternate on the Canadian Olympic team in London this summer. an experience she had worked for her entire life.
Basically losing or missing a whole childhood for that one dream.
Even before Savona represented her nation across the pond, LSU head coach Dee Bro had hopes of bringing the Canadian to compete in Baton Rouge.
So she's kind of the whole package, and we started recruiting her, stayed in the process, and in the end she decided she wanted to come to LSU.
Jessica Savona has already made a difference on the mat this season, competing at 3 out of the 4 events. However, teammate Randy Wyrick says her international experience brings a calm demeanor to the LSU Gymnastics family.
Kind of keeps everybody calm. If everybody's laughing and having a good time, like nobody's really like too serious about stuff, then it helps with gymnastics, because when you're not too cooped up about what you're doing, then your gymnastics is better produced.
Though Jessica has already established herself as a star on the team, she is happy to simply be part of one.
She has worked very hard at letting that individual mindset go and becoming more focused on, it's about the team, it's about what I do in my performance.
I'm not by myself. Those girls, all the girls on the team, they're going through exactly what I have to do, and it's different, but in a good way.
And according to Coach Bro, the best is yet to come.
She's got much better gymnastics in her than we're seeing at this point in time, and I think she's only going to get better.
Inside LSU Gymnastics, I'm Ryan Brumley.
At the halfway point of tonight's meet, the Tigers held a 7-10 lead over the Kentucky Wildcats. And Dee, you go into the floor exercise, an event where you're ranked #1 in the country, and Kaylee Dixon started you off in fine fashion.
You've got someone that can tumble and present her performance, and Kaylee did. She went out, she tumbled as well as we could ask her to tumble. Her presentation, her dance was everything that we needed her to do to set up the rest of the lineup. Second person up, Jessie Jordan. Jessie opened up really well, and I asked her before she went to be a little bit conservative, to still not twist her last tumbling pass, but she opened up. The first 2 passes were very good, and I thought her presentation was good. Dropped off a little bit in the last pass. You can see the little bit of a bent leg in her last layout, but Jessie goes out, once again, very consistent, and just does what Jessie does. Performs really well.
That's right, and then Jessica Savona was next in the lineup and gives you a 9.85.
Well, you wonder why I like Jessica Savona. She did not do what we needed. The confidence-building warm-up wasn't there, but when she steps on the mat, she's ready to compete. She loves to compete. She opens up with a beautiful 1.5 to a double tuck and just nails it. Her dance was beautiful tonight. I felt like the overall presentation might have been a little bit less than we're used to seeing, but her full in, solid. Then she goes in the last double pike, last pass. You've got to finish strong, and she did. She nailed it, chest up. She did everything we needed her to do to give us that big score in the middle. She goes 9.85, big score in the middle, and it sets up the end of the lineup.
Well, and it looked like that our 2 main competitors on the floor, at least 2 of the top in the country this season, Reagan Corville and Lamencia Hall, may be feeling the effects a little bit. 5 consecutive weeks of gymnastics, Dee. Maybe it showed a little on the floor tonight.
Well, it did, but Mike, they still tumbled well. I think the person that really felt it the most was Malia Mathis. And I felt after last week, she should have won the meet last week. Her floor was as good as anybody, if not the best routine in the meet. She was tired tonight. She did not perform her usual performance, but gave us enough to keep us in the meet. Then you follow her with Reagan Corville, and Reagan did a good job tonight, but it just wasn't that full of vibrant luster, that great performance that she usually has. And Lamencia Hall steps up and gives us a great routine, but it's not the performance that she's used to. And I think that it was a little bit of a lackluster performance, but certainly good enough to keep us in the meet, and certainly good enough to hopefully keep us ranked where we are on the floor.
Reagan Corville goes 9.85 on the judges' scores, but gets a 10th deducted from that score due to an unfortunate step out of bounds. Her final score, 9.75. 9.875 is the score for Mency Hall on the floor exercise, and it helps give the Tigers an edge in the meet going into the final rotation, 49.025, or 49.075 rather, Dee. But then you head into the balance beam to really clinch the meat, and it was on the line.
Well, it was on the line, Mike. It just wasn't that grade hit, plus it was void of energy. It was void of the excitement that we had last week at the Metroplex meet, the excitement that we had at Alabama. And we knew this coming into this 4-week away cycle, that we were going to have a little bit of a down, a little bit of a make our own energy. And we talked to the kids before the meet about being a gang. Like, go in there and take charge, be a gang. And we found like sometimes we felt like we were herding cats, that we were having to pull them back together and let's get focused. We're at a competition here. So it was a little bit challenging sometimes, but I don't know if we could have asked them to do any better. Next week, training, I don't think we're going to do anything different. I think we're going to try to maybe up our numbers without the kids knowing that we're upping our numbers, try to do a little bit more and have fun while we're doing it.
Well, Kaylee Dixon led off the Tigers with a 9.825, and we caught up with her right after the meet.
There's definitely room for improvement, but I think overall we had a good fight. We got better from this meet because we're going to learn from our mistakes, and that'll just make us better for next Friday night.
For years, we've maintained our track record of success for those hurt while giving back to the community. Doing what's right has its rewards, and we're honored to be called the best by you. Earlier this year, a jury of tens of thousands of people, many of you, considered the facts, the evidence, and made a just decision of which law firm is the best. The verdict is in. For the 5th year in a row, thank you.
Wow.
The Wow Performer of the Week, brought to you by Wow Cafe. It's going to be Kaylee Dixon tonight. She did 4 events. I think the thing that put her out in my mind was her beam routine. Although it didn't score well, she had a break. She did all of her difficulty. Back handspring, one arm back handspring, back lay, nailed it, and it'll be greater later.
Well, the LSU Tigers finished the meet tonight at Kentucky with a 48.750 on the balance beam. And Dee Dee, it was an improvement over a week ago at the Metroplex Challenge, but I know it's still a work in progress.
You know, you can't control what the judges are going to do. You know, they change every week. I felt like last week at Metroplex we were tight, we were a little bit tentative, consistently made mistakes throughout every routine. This week we didn't do that. I felt like our beam routines were better overall. Erica Garcia, my lead-off person, the person that I have the utmost confidence in, she goes and does a beautiful routine, but she takes 2 unnecessary breaks. She takes a small break out of a layout that was beautiful, and then, you know, she does a great front aerial, her leap combination's good, her side aerial, really no other deductions, and then does her dismount and moves her foot. And the one thing I tell them, I talk to them all the time on beam, is about circles. You know, the beam is 4 inches wide, and both sides of their body has to be making the same circles. And if they're doing a layout, their hands have to leave the beam and make the same circle.
So you go to the second half of your beam effort tonight, and the pressure's really on because you know, can't afford to fall. You're also trying you're trying to get to a good road score here as well in Lexington. But the second half of your lineup really started to help pick up the pieces a bit.
Well, Mincy is a pretty solid beam worker, and you know, we were counting her, just go up and hit, just go do what you do. She mounts the beam. She's a little bit stiff in her landing. She's taken about a half a tenth every time she hits the beam. She's a little bit stiff, and you know, the one thing I talk to her about all the time is stacking yourself up. Your head, your shoulders, your torso, your knees, everything's got to stack up over the beam so that your alignment is good, because she gets one little thing over the beam and she's off. So she lined herself up, but she was very stiff, very robotic on the beam tonight. Stayed on and stuck her dismount, which I would have loved to have had last week, and I'll love to have that stick next week. But she did enough to stay on, and she set up Reagan. And you know, Reagan goes, and beautiful beam routine, beautiful. I'm still wanting better rhythm. I'm still wanting to see it flow a little bit better. Nobody does more difficulty. Her Arabian in the front of that routine, and then she does a beautiful back layout, lands standing up. There's no lunge. And then front aerial, a beautiful Sisson. And then her switch side, her switch leap to a split quarter that she had trouble with last week that cost her winning the all-around by herself. She nails that, nails her front, and her dismount was really right on tonight. So she gave us a routine that tonight would have won a championship.
Well, 9.95 is the score for Reagan Corville. It's a new career high. It was a gorgeous routine, and as a matter of fact, that really paved the way. Jessie Jordan comes back at the end with a 9.75. I know it's not quite up to what she would like to do, but
she did a beautiful beam routine. Had really no breaks. She gets to her side salto, which she fell on in Alabama 2 weeks ago, and it was a ghost. When she got to that part, she let the ghost get in her brain, and she started thinking about the miss she had 2 weeks ago, and I can't do that tonight. I've got to hit tonight. You can't have that thought process on beam. It's got to be positive self-talk. What do I do next? Keep it moving, do good gymnastics, keep it moving. And she had that one moment of doubt, and it cost her probably 2 tenths because it was a great routine.
195-875 is the Tigers' final score tonight in Memorial Coliseum against the Kentucky Wildcats. They finished with a really nice rhythm there to end the meet on the balance beam, Dee Dee, and I know that it's a meet that we'll look at as we go back to Baton Rouge and get in the training center and try to really right some of those things and get ready for our trip on Thursday.
Well, we're excited to get the win, Mike. We wanted to come here and get the win, and a lot of times you want to focus on the score, but kids have to learn how to win. They have to learn how to know that they've got to close the competition with a win, and they've got to hit to do it. So it was not an easy meet for us tonight, but we did win it, and that's kind of a feather in our cap.
From the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Lexington, you're watching Inside LSU Gymnastics with Coach Dee Dee Bro. We'll be right back.
Students everywhere agree LSU is a phenomenal choice. Experience the campus where passion becomes genius. Now, only at LSU.
Tiger fans, join LSU Gymnastics coach Dee Dee Bro and former LSU football All-American Brady James for 2 special events. Catch Tailgate for the Fight March 7th, 6 to 9 p.m. inside the LSU Tiger Stadium Club. A night of food, fun, and spirited auction bidding. Admission is $56. Also join us March 8th at 7 p.m. as we host the 6th annual Etta James Memorial Meet as LSU will take on rival Alabama. Tickets just $1. And don't forget, wear pink. For info, email promotions@lsu.edu.
Welcome back to Inside LSU Gymnastics. Dee Dee, we have 3 weeks of a 4-week road trip under our belt. 1 more week to go, and I know you're excited about getting back home on February 15th in front of the friendly fans in the Maravich Center.
Oh, absolutely. And Mike, we're notching them off. 1, 2, 3, we've got 1 more to go, and then we're home. And it's really been good. We've grown a lot. The kids have learned how to compete. And
don't forget about that ticket plan for our final 3 home meets.
Oh, God, the package. You got Arkansas, Alabama, and Georgia in a package, and that'll lock in your season tickets for next year.
It's an unbelievable deal. LSUTix.net, LSUTix.net, and they can be yours. So Dee Dee is on the road to Missouri, who has joined the Southeastern Conference and, of course, has a very reputable and a very historic gymnastics program. It'll be an exciting meet in the Hearn Center on Friday.
We're looking forward to a cat fight.
And it'll be live inside the Go Zone on LSUsports.net. It's a 6:30 Central Time meet. Our airtime is at 6:25, and as always, it's free of charge. You can listen in. We'll have all the action for you live. Don't forget to follow the Tigers on Twitter and on Facebook as well. At LSUGYM is our Twitter handle, and also LSU Gymnastics on Facebook. So for head coach Dee Dee Bro, I'm Mike Smith saying thank you for joining us tonight from Lexington, Kentucky. This has been Inside LSU Gymnastics. We'll see you next week. Inside LSU Gymnastics with Dee Dee Bro has been brought to you by New Orleans Roast Coffee, the LSU Tiger Spotters, Wow Cafe American Grill and Wingery, Flying Tigers Gymnastics Camp, PJ's Coffee, and Glenn Armentor Pay It Forward Scholarship Program of Excellence.